First and foremost, I would like to say that. I'd like to say our thoughts and prayers are with everyone in Las Vegas, with everything they're dealing with and things that are going on with those families and things. And, we sit and talk about a football game. We talk about our jobs and everything that goes on and how quick things can happen and what happens in this world. And it's a shame. And my hearts and prayers and thoughts go out with everyone involved in that situation. And, hope everything turns out for the best as much as it possibly can. God bless them. After saying that, after looking at the film in the Wake Forest game, very proud of our team in one way. I thought they competed very hard in the game. I thought we learned to make plays at the right time when we had to make plays, which is something we had to get over, making some third down critical throws, converting the last drive. Great job in special teams with a great punt, great 3-and-out. I thought the defense, even though in the game at times played really well, gave up a couple plays, but then had 3 straight 3-and-outs at the end of the game when it was very critical. I thought our kids wanted to win and competed extremely hard. We made plays on offense, on special teams, on defense at critical times in the game. Now, saying all that, like I said, offense, we had way too many tackles for loss. Got to stop the penetration. Got to get communication with the guard and tackles and his guys when they're together, which they know just in technique things. Had a couple guys get banged up, but that's no excuse. I think we got to clean up some blocking outside at wideout. We had some chances to make some really big plays on some things that really could have came out and helped us a bunch there. We got to get that, got to do a better job in that regard. But still ran the ball for positively for over 200 yards at times in the game. Did some real nice things there with physical in the game. James made plays at the end when he had to. Red zone opportunity. We had unfortunately in the game we had 2 touchdowns called back. That was taken off the board, which I think were very pivotal situations. One would have put us up 8. One would have been an opening kickoff touchdown that put us up and had great momentum coming in there. Got to get some of those things. We'll look at those things and get their opinions back from what was called and how it was called, and see what we did right and see what we did wrong. Defensively, though, I thought we played the RPOs good. I thought Kyle Myers really stepped up and made some plays, went in the slot and played the little guy really good, allowed us to free Derwin up. I thought Matthew Thomas did some outstanding things in the game, had led us in tackles, had 2 sacks, couple tackles for loss, did a really nice job. I thought Tavares McFadden played one of his best games of the year. Played really good in that regard there. It was good to see D-Jack finally getting back in shape and getting healthy enough to go out there and play, and I thought he had a great mindset and played well when he played in the game. Derek Nottie did a really good job clogging things up inside in that regard. Rick Aguayo, I think, was the special teams player of the week in the conference, was outstanding in kicks, making 4 kicks, was outstanding in that regard, the extra points. And as you come down to that an extra point was as big in that game as anything. And they had missed one, and we had another outstanding kickoff return by Keith that set up when we were down by 9 points. They set up a return back, and our guys responded very well in that regard. Punting the ball, I thought Logan was outstanding. He had the one punt that come off the side of his foot. He had to drop it, just come off his hand wrong. But Heather had some really nice punts in the day. Thought he punted the ball extremely well. Thought we covered well except for that one. And they had the bad penalty right there on the side by Hampshire, which we had them pinned up because they had a clip, and then we got 2 penalties which could really pin them back. We got to eliminate those penalties. I had a big one on the screen that was there, and we'll see what the interpretation of that one is. That was a very pivotal thing, but I thought our kids competed. Thought we made good adjustments at halftime, come out, got a great stop on defense, had a heck of a drive on offense to get back and get control of the first drive of the second half, finished the first half like we wanted. Finished the first half, started the second half. A lot of positives, and there's some things that are very close, and some things that, things like I say, some things are close, but they can be far if you don't get them corrected. And we got to get better in a lot of those areas. We got to eliminate the tackles for loss and some of the sacks, and like I say, 1 or 2, James got to get rid of it, but at the same time, we got to protect a lot better and give him some decisions. And we had a couple chances down the field to make a couple plays. We had a big drop on a post route early in the game there that we had a chance that we could have made a play, and we're just inches. So we got to keep fighting and do those things. But again, happy the way we competed, found ways to make plays when we had to, and that's a huge step. Now we got to take the next step as our opponent is really good. Miami's a heck of a team. You watch them on defense. Their defensive front's very well. The linebackers is very experienced, very athletic in the secondary, very quick. Playing so much man coverage now, you can see they have confidence in those guys. Their quarterback's doing a good job. Mark Walton's a heck of a running back. The receivers they got getting them all back, 8 Beret, and getting him back in there. He does a great job on the return game. The young kid does a great job kickoff return. And then getting their big receiver, 82 back, who he had 4 catches, 100 yards, had the big drag route there, hit a couple go routes, and had a drag route that broke out for a big touchdown and a key component of the game. So, they got a good team. They got a really good team. They're playing well. Mark does a great job coaching them, and we got to get ready to play. So, that'll be a great Miami-Florida State game. Questions?
How banged up is the offensive line?
They're being banged and bruised, but I think we're going to be okay. I think we expect most of those guys all to be healthy. There was some injuries, and that's things they got to fight through. But they got back on rehab right after the game and did some things that really helped them there. And on Sunday got back in early and have been on top of it. And I'm very optimistic and feel very good. And hopefully should be at practice today.
Landon was an ankle, Cole was a hand?
No.
What happened?
Same thing. They both of them just got injuries. Lower body. Huh?
Derek Kelly would be in the same boat.
Yeah, he was in. Yeah, but look really good and expecting. I think all of them will practice today.
Remember, we got the microphone for questions, please.
I don't like to get real. I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't like to get real detailed in all the injuries. I mean, they're also lower extremity, upper extremity, some of those things. But you know what I'm saying. I hope you understand that.
Jimbo, how much, I assume it's a combination of both, but how much were the offensive line issues were communication? How much was it they just got beat by a player?
Well, a couple times it's technique, a little bit of communication, and got beat. And a couple times on those short yards, our tight end situation, we didn't, which we usually play out. Izzo's been playing outstanding. He had a solid game, but we have Maven in there who did a good job at times, but we missed a couple little things there that could have helped us in that situation too, in what we did. But the offensive line's got to clean that up and do a better job. And trying to do too much at times. A little bit, sometimes trying to go too hard and got out of control, trying to do a little bit too much, you know what I mean, trying too hard at some things, but there's no except. That can't happen, and they know it, and the good thing about it, like I say, they're banged and bruised, and what I love about their attitude, man, them guys are ready to get right back in there. There ain't no backing away, and they know they got to get better. Combination of both to answer your question, Corey.
All right, we'll go ahead and go to the phone. Matt, go ahead.
Y'all are slow today.
Hey, Jimbo, is this Miami team about as good as you've seen it?
I've seen some pretty good ones. I thought they were good. It may have been good for every year we've played them. They had some top 8, 10 teams, you know what I mean, or 10 or 12. But this is a really good one. I think they're playing with great confidence, and it's just typical Miami team. Great players, very well, playing really good, and like I say, they've had last 2 or 3 years had 8, 9 guys drafted a year. Had 8 or 9 last year. Had 8 or 9 the year before that. So I think they'll have a bunch again. So I mean, it's a very similar looking team. I'm sorry. What do you think? Thank you. Okay.
Jimbo, you mentioned Tavares. He looks so physical on those bubbles. I mean, is that something you've been wanting to? I mean, he's shown that at times.
You got to remember, he had a torn labrum the whole time last year. I mean, when your labrum's torn, and you play with those, that's football. I mean, because there's no more damage and they guard him. And you got to be. I mean, you don't like to. It's like when you have a sore tooth, you don't like to eat on that tooth. When you have a shoulders like that, it allows him to be, and that's one of the things he is. The size and physicality of being that big corner and being healthy, and he has that mentality anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it allows him to be that way.
As far as Ricky's concerned, have you seen anything different in what he's done at practice, or maybe an extra bit of confidence?
Well, I mean, I think when you have success and working it real hard, we were pressing the times and the kicks and the protection and it's things that but we kick every day. We kick every day with rushes and live rushes every day, at least a couple to get those things done. And he just put in a lot of good hard work. And like I said, the first game in the Alabama game, you go back, that had nothing to do with Ricky. That was a block that I don't care if the greatest kicker in the world would have kicked it. It was going to be blocked. And then he missed the first one and he had success. So just a matter of getting back in the groove and getting it done.
Jacquez had a big run. Cam had a big run.
I didn't mention that. Jacquez is outstanding in the game. Jacquez is outstanding in the game. I mean, catching the ball out of the backfield, blocking, picking up blitzes, running with authority, running physical. That goal line run he made down there, I mean, pushing the pile. And I'm going to tell you, you didn't notice on those screens that being tackled about 7 yards deep on a 3rd and 9 or 10 and taking his body and running through tackles and getting that extra, I thought he was outstanding in the game. I really do.
Between him, Cam, Amir got in. Are you guys starting to get a little bit of a rhythm? Are you seeing positive?
Yeah, we are. And we got to. And then, like I say, the good thing that Jacquez did staying physical. Cam, I thought, played well in the game. Again, and we'll talk to him. Every run's not a touchdown, and he's got to take some of those runs. And a couple of those losses and some things should have been 1-yard gains or 1-yard losses. It ended up 7 or 8 yard gains because he keeps wanting it, which is. Listen, you'd rather say whoa than giddy up. That's a learning curve part of growing up and learning to play. And I said this before. I had the same thing with Dalvin. Dalvin would come off frustrated and mad, and he'd have a 6-yard run or a 4-yard run or a 3-yard run sometimes. Listen, that's what was there. That's a good play. And, learning to just understand it and just keep doing those big plays. His big plays will come, and he's doing some outstanding things.
How long did that take Dalvin to?
I don't know. It was wow. You got to remember, Dalvin wasn't even playing at this time. I mean, he wasn't even getting reps, and I mean, very little. You know what I mean? And so, you know, it was over halfway through the year or more, and we hit it. But we also, you know, were very experienced at quarterback, and we, you know, people had to take pressure off of him because we were throwing the football so well, and you had Jameis, and it wasn't the same kind of burden either.
Jimbo, when you've been able to have success.
And our thoughts are with Dalvin today, too. I don't mean to interrupt. Too bad to see what happened to him yesterday, too. Dadgummit.
Jimbo, when you've been able to have success against a rival for a little bit of time the way you guys have, does it mean something to your team, especially the upperclassmen, the seniors, to kind of be the ones to keep that going?
Oh, no, I mean, you always want to keep that going. I mean, you know, you because you understand the importance of the rivalry. It's one of the reasons you play it for. It's one of the great rivalries in college football. And the thing about it, you have great respect for Miami. Listen, they're a great team. They do everything. I mean, this game is always a physical, hard fight. And it's one of the things I always loved about watching it. When I wasn't part of this, I mean, you saw the intensity, and I think you'll see the same thing. But yes, it's definitely, you want your legacy of how you play against them to be very good, and just like they want their legacy to be good against Florida State.
Jimbo, when you went back and watched the film, what did you think of Blackman's performance?
Thought he played a solid game. Had some things that he could have done better. There was a couple things, and it was interesting. Some things were just a hair off on. Like even on protection, where they made him move off a spot. In other words, and it wasn't a bad block. We're just running the guy back, and he has to just move off a spot, and it caused him to be just a tad late on a throw. And we run a good route. I mean, that's it. We run a good route to get open. Maybe he has to move a tad off, or when he's there, the route don't quite get. I mean, it's very close in a lot of areas. And I thought he played a solid game because, listen, he had one thing, a little better ball security. Got stripped in the pocket one time when he went to throw. You got to keep those two hands on the ball, no matter what. You got to take it, and when there's pressure, but didn't have a turnover. Made big third down throws at the end, when the game was on the line, threw a dart to win the game. In the second game out on the road on a victory against an undefeated team, and what we did. So, I mean, I was happy. There's a lot of positives, but there's a lot of things in which we have to improve and get better. There's no doubt. Communication on the field, things like that, he did a real nice job. Saw blitzes, saw fronts, saw different things, and could communicate coming off. Could have made a couple of decisions in a different area. And had some plays to be made there, and we dropped a couple, and I think that's a matter too, because the way that game went, then we did get in a rhythm. He hits a screen, we pick it up, and you start to get in a rhythm, and all of a sudden you get a penalty, and you get that. And there was never a rhythm. I said this after the game was kind of a game of extremes, where you made big play, and then both teams would do it. You know what I mean? Get it, and all of a sudden stop or have a penalty or have something in that way. So we got to get more consistent, which I think will help him get in a better groove as our team does. But he's got to do that too. So he was okay in the game, But again, y'all go out there and turn it over on the road, playing a good headed game, making a throw to win the game, making a big third down throw, and 2 drives in the fourth quarter that he led us down to points when we were behind. I think it's a big deal.
Jimbo, referring to that 3rd and 20 pickup, how big was that? And was that the primary? What was the
It was a route. It was vertical routes, and they had a half, and he stuck it in a hole and felt very comfortable with the way they rotated the coverage and had enough room over there and stuck it in there. Had an option on the other side too, but that's the one he went with. And what I loved about it, he had conviction in it, and he threw it with authority and didn't second guess, which young guys at times will do that. You know what I mean? It's big. I said, listen, live the moment. You got to go play, and that's what I love about him in the game. Even when things don't go well, he has the ability to respond back and not go in a shell. You know what I'm saying? Because that could have been a frustrating game. You know what I'm saying? How we were doing, things were going on. And you get frustrated and think, I got to do more, and all of a sudden you throw a pick. So from that standpoint, guys, that is a huge, huge development for a young player. You're in a tight game like that, even when things aren't going well, you can feel, I got to win the game. And you try to do too much, as I say. You know what I mean? And make a critical mistake. But he made a good decision, and stuck it in there and made a heck of a throw. And Keith made a heck of a catch. Keith made 2 big plays in that game. Having that catch and that big kickoff return was great.
Jimbo, you mentioned Derek Nottie earlier. How much is it helping him to have Fred Jones, Arthur Williams, the guys behind him that keep him fresh?
Oh, no doubt. You have to have a rotation, and you got to develop players for the future. And Marvin even getting there. Marvin got in there more and more plays. He got in there 7, 8, 9 plays, who's doing a really good job. You can see his development coming on. Stanford Sandwich is another young freshman who's doing some really good things. Again, getting Amir back in the game at running back, getting a 3-man rotation, I think is really good. I mean, you just got to keep developing, getting Maven back on the field a little more. You know what I'm saying, in some areas. I think that's all really good. And by the way, I thought Vickers, if you could look at that film, Vickers did a heck of a job inside blocking and doing some really nice things in that football game.
Going back to James, when you said, not going into the shell, is that kind of half the battle, trying to?
Oh, no doubt. Because when you're young, you feel like you get, all right, you're the quarterback. I got to go do everything. I got to go, and it's young, and you feel like, okay, I'm the new guy, so they're going to expect. And then the expectation, here's the quarterback's job. Put your team in position to win the game. And sometimes that means maybe it's not making plays all over the field. It's making good decisions, making smart, intelligent decisions with the ball. When it's time to be aggressive, you're aggressive. But if you do it aggressively intelligent. So the misses are in the right place, making the right checks, being patient. You know what I'm saying? And I thought he had great patience, showed great patience in the game for a young guy. And there's some things I definitely want him to do better. But at the same time, that's a huge growth. And you don't feel that pressure to go out there and do too much and make a huge mistake. That's a huge growing point and maturity thing for him, what he went through this weekend.
Jimbo, what can be done to get Nooney more involved in the offense?
Well, get open, run good routes. Plus, he's involved, I promise you. Him and Izzo, we had about 6 balls called to the tight end. We had a nice one. They tackled him. Boy, that one, we got that interference when they tackled him. We had a chance to have a really big play. And we had that one. And, got to catch balls, got to get open, got to work on how his routes. He ran a great corner route that time. And he had to move off the spot. And the one we had to throw up and ended up being like a double catch. That was because James, we'll keep throwing it to him. And he got to develop. We had about 8 or 9 routes called to him.
He's a kid that thinks he's probably one of the best receivers in the country. How frustrating has it been for him? Does he talk to you? I'm sure you don't care, but does he talk to you about getting the ball?
Yeah, I do, because it's our team.
Right.
And him making plays, but at the same time, he's got to run the routes right. He's got to be in the right place and do things, which he's doing. He's practicing very hard, and we'll get in the rhythm and do it. It has been just the last couple of weeks. It's been Auden and George. Happened to be the week before. There's opportunities. In the first game, he had some opportunities. And where we were there. This game, there was some there. We called for him, and somebody got open. We had pressure, or things. If you go look at the film, sometimes he'd get open, or any of them, we have a pressure. All right, then we'd be ready to throw, and all of a sudden they'd slip, or just typical things. You got to get in sync, and it's not that far off.
Has he taken a step from last year at this time till now?
Well, he's working. Yeah, he's getting better. He knows what he's doing a lot better.
All right, we'll go back to the phone for Chris.
Hey, Jimbo, how you doing?
Fine. How are you?
Doing great. Talk about Miami's defense. Is this the best defense you've seen in a very long time? Because they got a lot of sophomores and Perryman and the other guys. So is this the best Miami defense you've seen?
It's one of them. It definitely is. They've had a lot of guys. They had a lot of guys drafted last year off that defense. Had a lot of those guys, but they've had a couple of them up there. But yeah, the way their front's playing, Jackson and Thomas and them upside, Norton inside. All those guys, the 3 linebackers, are doing a heck of a job. Secondary. It's definitely one of them. They're a really good defense. They really are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jimbo, you guys, I don't think you've run that well against Wake Forest in the last few years.
We haven't.
Was that a concerted effort going into it, and how happy?
Well, I thought on the road, being there, the way they played, I wanted to be physical. I think it was important for him to do things and establish the line of scrimmage and help the young quarterback on the road. And we needed to get the running game going for the future, what we wanted to do. And we thought we had an advantage being able to do that at times. And it was something that we wanted to do and wanted to make a concerted effort to do.
And there's chatter about the team not looking like they're having enough fun or things like that. But does that come with having success?
You have fun when you have success. Chatter, Well, because they hadn't had success. And you're in tight games, you're playing big people. When you have success and you're doing things well and you're playing well, that's when it's fun. That's when you're playing well and doing the things you got to do. You got to play well and have success to have fun. And understand it's a grind and it's tough, and then you go. Nothing's been any different than we've ever done, and it's got to coach and do a good job.
Jimbo, with lack of touchdowns in the red zone, is there a group of common things that you're seeing on film for Seminoles?
Well, we had a penalty. We had one called back, and we had a nice drive down there. Like I say, we took a chance, missed one by inches. We scored on another one. I think we had 2 for 3, or 3 for whatever it was, down to 2 for 4, whatever it was. We got one called back. That's the same. We had a penalty. Just got to get better and do what we're doing. Keep practicing. Just execution and keep being physical in the run game, which we did, and find the right passes and the right things. Keep doing what we're doing. What we did before is nothing wrong. We'll keep improving and getting the guys in the right position.
Jimbo, for Amir to get carries late in the fourth quarter of a tie game, what's that say just about the progress he's made and the trust he's earned?
Have great confidence in Amir. Have great confidence in him. I've said it all along. He's going to be a huge part of what we do. We're only 1/4 of the way into the season, and what's happening, and just got to. He'll keep getting his at-bats and the things he does. And he was in the game a bunch at NC State. If you go back, we threw a screen to him. We had a big play to him that we didn't get protected, and then we had a couple other runs that we had RPOs with that had a chance. I have total confidence in Amir going down there and doing things.
Jimbo, what's impressed you about Malik Rozier?
Composure, decision-making, athletic. He's improved every week throwing the ball down the field. And again, he's great run action, naked boot guy, good on the RPOs, decision making, accuracy. I mean, he's done a great job keep taking care of the football. Hasn't made many mistakes. Yeah.
Jimbo, you coached against Miami when you were at LSU. I don't know if you coached against them at other places, but does it feel? It has to feel different here. Into the 2007 game, is that when you first got the sense of the FSU-Miami rivalry as actually being a part of it?
It is different, but when we played them before that game, we played them in a bowl game, I think in 05. We were both top 10, so it was a pretty intense deal before that one. But I mean, it is different here. I mean, but I know it's not. I don't know if it felt any different because I knew the history, and I was, I love Florida State, and so I kind of lived a lot of those games with them at the time. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's like any other rivalry that you've been a huge part of. But I felt it myself because of just I think my knowledge of Florida State. I don't know if it was anymore, but I mean, I understood the importance of it and how big it was.
Weekly officiating question on the one where they reviewed the.
Corey's mad at you. he had the thing. See,
they
yell at him,
reviewed,
Corey. Write an article on him, Corey.
They reviewed a long catch. Were they checking to see if he was in bounds before the catch? There was a completion, and then they reviewed it, and then they went to a timeout. It looked like you guys had momentum, and then.
Oh, yeah, that he stepped out, and then did he reestablish, because he got pushed out, he reestablished back in bounds, which is a big momentum swing, too, which is
and then they went to a media timeout.
I know. I know. And then, I thought there was a couple situations in the game which they hurried a punt team on and didn't cover the ball, because that's like a personnel change. So you got to let us substitute. I mean, they ran them out, so I couldn't. I mean, we had to, and then once on a penalty, they moved the penalty, which that's their official. I mean, I like those guys. They are, but they moved the ball back on me, so I made a third call based off where they moved the ball. Then then it says decline. Well, then I couldn't. They moved the chain. I didn't know what down and distance it was, and they didn't communicate it to me. So I got to waste a time out in the red zone, because that's a critical call, and we ended up getting a first down on the play. I believe the next one, I think it was, but that. In saving those, you saw in the second half by saving those 3 timeouts how critical that was. But in the first half, we had 2 situations that I didn't know what was going on, and it was not from anything that we did wrong. You know what I'm saying? That was critical on that. But when you stop the game, I understand getting it right, but man, I just wish we hadn't go to a commercial timeout. You know what I'm saying? To get that ruling that he was in bounds and go. But they made a nice call on Derwin, not knowing that was a targeting too. Going back and reviewing that, and that was a great review.
It's the 30-year anniversary of the 1987 Miami-Florida State game where Bobby went for 2, 40 seconds left, down by 1. In those rules, would you have gone for 2?
Throw a play-action rail route. I don't know. Try to throw it to Pat Carter in the right end zone.
Yeah, and I think Ronald Lewis was wide open in the middle of the field.
But it's not. It was a post trail. You say that, but it wasn't a read on the play, and the quarterback can't see it because he got his back turned to it.
Would you have called?
I know the play.
Would you? I'm sure you ran that play. Would you have called for? Would you have gone for 2 in that spot? Would you have kicked the field goal?
That's a heck of a thing. I mean, listen, Bobby did it. He wanted to win. And he always said the story. He sent the field goal, the PAT team on. The players talked him out of it. You know what I mean? Because they wanted to win and have the win. And I understand because they'd had the lead the whole game. But, that's a decision sometimes. You don't ever know. You have to be in that situation. I mean, in hindsight, I wish if he'd have kicked it, maybe they win a national championship. But at the same time, you're going for the win. So you don't doubt that. I mean, you get your best player and do it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, those are things you got to make at the spur of the moment and where your team's at. And also, just like he always said, the punt Ruski. I mean, making the punt Ruski call. Why did he do that? Anybody know? Yeah, 21-21, backed up on his own 20. Why would you do that? Well, why else did you do that? Depends on the season and the situation. What happened earlier in the year? And if they lost another one, would they be in it? Probably had a lot to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Depends on how your season goes, where you're at, what you still got on the line, what you got at stake. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a lot of, I don't mean that, what time of year you're at, things like that. There's a lot that goes into those. I mean, if you make them, you're a hero. If you don't, you're a bum. I mean, because then think about this. He didn't do it with Florida in the 94 game. He kicks it, and because now your team battles back so hard to tie it, do you take the heart out of them by missing it? You know what I'm saying? I mean, to be honest with you, Corey, there's not an answer. I know that sounds crazy for the coach. I mean, it's all based on where your season's at, what's going on, how the flow of the game, your kids. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that decision that, for us, at least in my mind, and I've talked to Coach about all those big decisions because I want to learn. I did from all the coaches. You know, those are things you sit and have conversations. Why'd you go for 2 there? Why didn't you go for 2 here? Why'd you go for 2 here? Why didn't you go for 2 there? You know, in those situations. And a lot of it basically came back to how hard the kids and how much they put into it, and could you afford the loss if you had it? Could you not afford the loss? Could you, the momentum of the game, type of season? I mean, there's a ton of things that go into that decision making.
You got any plays up your sleeve in the same sense?
Oh yeah, I mean, we always have things. I mean, they always have things. We all do.
Wanted to ask about your post-game speech to the players. I guess we'll find out this week or, you know, the rest of the season how they respond to it. But after the game, after that game, and, you know, what you said to your players, how important was it for you to just kind of just grab your attention and hope they grasped and soaked in that message?
That's what you do with all kids. Hope they listen and learn. And don't take anything for granted. And understand what, just like when you sit in front of them every day and you talk to them. Are they hearing? They just listening to the words? Are they hearing the words? Or are they listening to the words? You know what I'm saying? There's a reason we talk. I mean, and it's, but you know, that's kids, and that's the way you are with your own kids. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's everything, and understand how much we care for them, but understand when they do things the right way, and how we can put our minds right and do, you know, put everything in the past and go. You have a chance to do things special.
Coach, just beating Wake after the way the season started, do you get the sense that your players are going to use this as a turning point in the year?
I hope so. And I think it's a learning curve, and I think it definitely felt good. I just know this. I mean, how they felt in that locker room. That's what we talk about a lot of times. How do you want to feel afterwards? Now work backwards. I mean, the feeling you want after the game, you know, but just the big thing is put your heart and soul, prepare for it, and put your heart and soul in everything you do. And I promise you this, listen, they may make mistakes when we get mad. I do too. I get frustrated as heck. I mean, mad. But do we ever think they do it on purpose? No. But sometimes you do. You got pressure. You got things that go on. You got reads. You got some guys learn a different guy. Some guys can deal with pressure. Some guys can't. Some guys got it. And then they get confidence. And all of a sudden, that same player 3 weeks later looks like he should be. He's a 9-time All-American. And 3 weeks ago, he can't make a block, or he can't make a tackle, or he can't make a catch, or he can't run. It's not. They're there. It's just you got to put them in position. And they got to get confidence, and they got to do it. And I know that sounds crazy to y'all. Why can't you do that? Well, why can't anybody do that in anything? That's life. That's what you got to fight through, and that's what we're doing right now, fighting and grinding through that. All right, thank you, Coach. We're good? Thank you, guys.